We're on the verge of nuclear annihilation. It's a bubble. It's going to burst, not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. No one is talking about this. There are going to be defaults, the likes of which we've never seen in the history of the world. It's going to bring down the banks. The working class is going down. George Carlin used to say, it's one big club and you ain't in it. When you look at the real government debt level, it's not $36 trillion. It's more like $260 trillion. Where do you get the money from? You're nothing more than a plantation worker of Slavelandia. You listen to us. You listen to the rich. When all else fails, they take you to war. There's going to be some kind of false flag event that's going to rally the people around escalation of the war. That's the only crap that the people swallow. We're in World War III. It's begun.
World War III is already happening.
This is a house of cards, and it is in the process of collapsing right now.
You're going to see an economic crash, the likes of which we've never seen.
Hi folks, Canadian Prepper here. We have back again the legendary Gerald Celente, author of the Trends Journal, a business consultant, needs no introduction on this channel, bona fide humanitarian, and we're going to have a lot of questions to ask him today about geopolitics and finance and all these good things. So, well, I shouldn't say good things. They're not looking too good right now, the way things are going. But how are you doing today, Gerald?
I am very thankful for everything that I have and very healthy. So on that level, I'm blessed. But when I look at what's going on in the world, my heart is broken. You know, I see all the wars going on, the slaughter of innocent people, the bombing of places to the ground, you know, and no outrage at all. So that kind of makes me very sad. And, you know, I'm a Napolitano, born in the Bronx, 1946, right at the height of America, right after the war. And to see where the country was and where it is, it doesn't make me very happy. You know, we were born to be free, and you're not free anymore. You listen to the crap that's spewing out of my mouth. I'm a politician. I'll tell you what to do. Oh, you don't believe my crap? Why, then you believe in misinformation. All right?
Yeah, it seems like all sides are accusing each other of misinformation at this point. What do you think of the Trump election? So on the one hand, we could be pessimistic and say that the Biden administration is attempting to sabotage Trump by ratcheting up the war in Ukraine so that Trump is left with an untenable situation. But nobody in his cabinet, to the best of my knowledge, has specifically criticized the decision to remove these restrictions on deep strikes. So it makes me wonder, is there some continuity happening between the Trump administration and the Biden administration? Are they collaborating in some way on some type of negotiation that's going to happen afterwards? Or, you know, is this just the Biden attempt to undermine the Trump administration? What are your thoughts on that?
Again, I agree with you. I haven't, you know, I've seen these little short clips of Trump and that somebody's saying that they're artificial and they're not real. But if he says he's going to end the war in Ukraine in 24 hours, he should be out there full force screaming and yelling about, stop this right now. I'm coming in January 20th. I don't want you to do this. What the hell are you doing?
Exactly.
That's what should be going on.
Yeah.
And then you look at the people that he's picked in his cabinet, the defense secretary, the secretary of state, one after another. They're all war hawks.
Yeah. National security advisor.
Yeah.
Waltz. Yeah.
Yeah. They're all war hawks. So again, like I say the same thing you are, and people say, oh no, Trump's come out and said he's against. Yeah, little clips and he should be out there screaming and yelling like he knows how to do very well, because we've heard him yell and scream a lot. What has he got, lockjaw right now?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's something suspicious about the whole thing, because this would be a great opportunity for him to try to interdict this. Donald Trump Jr. has tweeted about it, but we all know he's just kind of like, he doesn't have any capability to dictate policy. So of course, he's going to come out to try to, he's like Trump's public relations guy on Twitter, it seems, to try to, just placate people. But I'm a little concerned about where this is going, because we really are at a point now. Like today, British Storm Shadow missiles were used. There's now video confirmation. Just before we started our interview today, I was watching the video of the Storm Shadow actually hitting some targets inside Russia. So now you have the Brits, the US, launching missiles using NATO soldiers to help do the targeting and all this stuff. And Vladimir Putin just made it official yesterday, the new nuclear doctrine. What is your take on this? Like,
go back to the Trends Journal on February 22nd, 2022, 2 days before the Ukraine war became official. From COVID war to Ukraine war to World War. We're in World War III. It's begun. As you said, who's firing these missiles? The United States troops are in there. These are very advanced weapons. The British troops are there. We're at war with Russia. As a matter of fact, we outlined in this week's Trends Journal exactly what Putin just signed about. They're going to go nuclear if this thing continues to escalate. We are on the verge of nuclear annihilation, because then there's that other war, the Israel war. Again, I don't want to hear this crap that I'm an anti-Semite when I come out against the Israel war. I launched Occupy Peace over a decade ago. I had major peace rallies. I had one in the end of September with Scott Ritter, Judge Napolitano, Joe Lauria, and others, right? So I don't want to hear the crap. And again, 3 of my last 4 girlfriends were Jewish. My best friends are Jewish. I don't want to hear I'm against the genocide going on by the definition, and that's what they're doing. So now we're going to go back to nuclear annihilation. Israel is nothing but a bully picking on little kids. What do you got? Gaza, the size of Philadelphia? You got people in Gaza, they're fighting Hamas. They got jet planes, they got tanks, they got ballistic. No, they don't have anything. They got rifles, maybe a couple of hand grenades. Who are you fighting over there in Lebanon? Lebanon, about 5.7 million people. A country the size of Connecticut that you're bombing to ruin. Okay, now there's Iran. There are about 9 million people living in Israel, 2 million of them Arabs. So you got about 7 million Israelis. 7 million against 91 million Iranians. You don't got to be good at math to figure this one out. Oh, these are the Persians. Very advanced technologically, scientifically. They've been building this thing for years. Israel's nothing but a bully picking on little kids. They go up against Iran. There's this thing called the Samson option. SAMSON. Israel feels like they're going to lose. Look it up. They go nuclear. They have between 200 to 400 nuclear warheads. You got a maniac government in charge, and they're going to keep escalating this war. And Netanyahu's going to do everything he can to stay out of jail and go to court, or go to court and stay out of jail. People forget there were 39 weeks of protests going on before the Hamas attack. 39 weeks. People protesting in Israel against Netanyahu's Judicial Reform Act that basically said there's no more court system. We're in charge. 39 weeks, not my language, the language of Isaac Herzog, the president of Israel. There's a civil war going on. Yeah. There was a civil war going on before the Hamas attack. All forgotten. When all else fails, they take you to war. And we only report the facts. 2 days after the Hamas attack, it came out, the United States and Egypt had warned Israel that this was going to happen. And then Haaretz, the Israeli newspaper, has been reporting that they had that information was going to happen, and they let it happen.
Not surprised by that. Do you think that this new Trump cabinet that is stacked with Iran hawks, do you think they're actually going to green light Israel to start something with Iran?
Considering who they are, and look at the money that Trump has gotten for the Adelsons, what, about 130, 150 million dollars? This guy, what's his name? Lutnick. He did a whole campaign to get Jewish people to donate to Trump, and he is totally pro-Zionist, as a number of them are. You know, one after another. It was Steltnick, whatever her name is, that he made the Israeli, the United States ambassador to the United Nations. Yeah. That Huckle Jerk. There's no such thing as Palestine.
Right.
These are not settlements. These are communities and they're cities. What do you mean they're not settlements? They're settlements in violation of the Geneva Convention and Article 242 of the United Nations. Oh, no. This is the crap spewing out of the mouth of this clown. A little fat, slobby clown boy. Oh, he's the United States ambassador to Israel. It says 3,500 years ago, it says in a good book that God said to Abraham, save your fairy tale for somebody else. What happened 3,500 years ago? You can't even say why we invaded Iraq. That just happened what? In 2002. They made up that story. You're telling me a fairy tale that, oh God, hey God, where the hell are you, God? You're talking to Abraham. How about talking to me? Where's your God? Oh, God disappeared? They're making this crap up. I got to believe in your fairy tales? Oh, and I don't want to hear the crap that you're the chosen people. Hey, you're just a little guinea from the Bronx, Celente. A little wop. No. Naomi Wolf, a Jewish woman, says what crap that chosen people garbage is. God chooses chosen people for living in the spirit of the God of a higher order. Nothing to do with ethnicity. This is the crap that these crazy people that Trump brought into office keep selling. One after another. That guy from Fox, he's another one of these Christian Zionists. And what Christ do you believe in? Christ doesn't want war, doesn't like murder. Oh, and all you Abraham fans, how about thou shalt not kill? You forgot that one? Oh, I think he dropped that commandment. I think there were 15 of them. I saw, what was that movie with Mel Brooks, History of the World, Part 2. He dropped, there were 15. He dropped 5 of them. You know? I don't want to hear these fairy tales.
Yeah, it's important to remember, too, that there's a lot of Jewish academics and pundits who are totally against the Israeli occupation, from like Chomsky to Finkelstein and Goldman and Goodman, Amy Goodman from Democracy Now, Naomi Klein. Like, I mean, the list goes on and on. Aaron Mate, his dad, Gabor Mate. So, it's really important to keep that in perspective too, that there is a conflict.
Max Blumenthal.
Blumenthal, yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
so,
every one of my Jewish friends are totally opposed to this. Totally opposed. Totally opposed.
Of course, they're self-hating. They're self-hating anti-Semites, though, right?
Yeah. And how about Jewish Voices for Peace?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're funded probably by the Iranians and the Russians.
That's true. Yeah.
So, I guess it seems as though Trump he was the one who backed out of the JCPOA, and we're in worse circumstances now than we were then. I can't see us being able to de-escalate this situation, especially when Iran is still committed to doing a retaliatory response. Whether or not they're going to do that anymore now that Trump's been elected is unknown. But it appears as though if Netanyahu wants to stay in office, like you said, he needs a perpetual state of war. And what better way to ensure that he doesn't go to jail than to ensnare the U.S. into a major conflict. Could we see troops on the ground in Iran? Or is that going to go nuclear first?
No, go nuclear. Again, it's a Samson option. Look at it. And again, America's going to get involved. We haven't won a war since World War II. And we wouldn't have won that without the Russians, but nobody talks about that. Oh, wait. We lost the Vietnam War, lost the Iraq War, lost the Afghan War. Oh, you got that Yemen war going, right? Yeah, you did a beautiful job with that. You only killed a couple of 100,000 people. Libya did a beautiful job in destroying that place. What war? Again, we're going to beat. You're not going to beat them. No, this is going to escalate. I'm very, very concerned about it. Again, Netanyahu is going to do everything he can to stay in power. And the people that Trump has, again, not my language. You read Haaretz, the Israeli newspaper, which we subscribe to, by the way. We pay to go to it. And they're saying what a pro-Zionist crew, that their language that Trump has picked. And again, they made up the Zionism, what, late in the 1890s? Theodore Herzl? I mean, they made this thing up. And again, people aren't, like, as a trend forecasters, again, we go to Haaretz, we go to the Times of Israel, we go to Jerusalem Post. Oh, we also go to Press TV, Tehran Times, IRNA, ISNA. Want to hear what they have to say? Oh, we go to Al Jazeera, we go to Arab News, we go to Middle East Monitor, we go to Middle East Eye. We want to hear what the Arabs have to say. No. You're only allowed to hear what we have to say. Tune into the Cartoon News Network, CNN. Yeah, ABC, all about crap. Little prostitutes, media whores that get paid to put out by their corporate pimps and government whoremasters. That's the only crap that the people swallow.
Going back to the Ukraine situation, you've been talking recently about the possibility for some kind of false flag event.
Yep.
Now that we have Ukraine given a green light to use these cruise missiles, which are presumably more capable than the drones that they already have. And I'm not a military guy. I know you're not either, but, or maybe you were in the military. I don't know. But, so is there a situation now being set up where Ukraine is going to be enabled to do something like maybe hit a nuclear power plant or try to provoke a Russian response? I was actually very surprised to see Vladimir Putin sign this nuclear doctrine and basically make it law before Trump entered office, because essentially what he's done now is he's set up a situation where he's basically spelled out very simply for Zelensky, this is exactly what you have to do for us to use a nuke somewhere, which, I don't know, part of me wonders if maybe they want Putin to use a nuke so to justify whatever is going to come next.
Yeah. Again, it's going to be some kind of false flag event that's going to rally the people around the escalation of the war. They killed 100 Americans in a base or something, whatever. They'll make up anything. I want to read you something. This is from History Today. Mainstream as mainstream could be. We're talking about false flags and how they invent things so that people respond. United States freezes Japanese assets. On July 26, 1941, President Franklin Roosevelt seizes all Japanese assets in the United States. You know why?
I don't know.
In retaliation for the Japanese occupation of French Indochina. Wait a minute. French Indochina? What the hell are the French doing in Vietnam, Cambodia, and Laos? And they're calling it French Indochina? Why? The French Foreign Legion. We'll kill and rob and steal anywhere we want. Oh, robbing their tin, their rubber, rape, pillage. And you're seizing assets for that? It gets better. Yep. President Roosevelt swung into action. Britain and Dutch East Indies followed suit. Dutch East Indies? What the hell are the Dutch doing in Indonesia? Well, we're doing what the British are doing, and the French are doing. We're stealing, ravaging. Why the sun never set on the British Empire? We're stealing, and we're doing what they're doing. We're the Dutch. Screw the Indonesians. The result: Japanese lost access to 3/4 of its overseas trade and 88% of their imported oil. They only import 100%. Okay, so you cut off all their oil and you kill their trade. Oh, this is in July, August, September, October, November, December. 5 months later, they bombed Pearl Harbor. Can't figure out why. I didn't know this until 2 years ago.
I think I heard it somewhere. Now that you mentioned it, I did hear it about that somewhere. Yeah.
Now, once upon a time, unlike these little boys that couldn't fight their way out of a paper bag, like little Obama, folks, always folking us, folks. Yeah, I want that guy Gaddafi out of there. I want that guy Assad out of there. I'm really good at killing people, quote in the book Double Down. A little bastard. He couldn't fight. Could you imagine getting a fight with this guy? How about Bill Clinton? Come here. No, we're not fighters. We just love war. Oh, Joe Biden? Oh, 5 draft deferments. Oh, Trump, how many draft deferments did he get? We're the same age, me and Trump. And I did everything I could to avoid the Vietnam War. And by the way, I want to make this clear. I was stupid enough to believe it as a young guy, but I didn't want to get my brains blown out. So I did. This is from Washington. He goes on to say that as a very important source of strength and security, cherish public credit. One method of preserving it is to use it sparingly as possible, avoiding occasions of expense by cultivating peace, but remembering also the timely disbursements to prepare for danger frequently prevent much greater disbursements to repel it. Avoiding likewise the accumulation of debt, not only by shunning occasions of expense, but by the vigorous exertions in times of peace to discharge the debt which unavoidable wars may have occasioned, not ungenerously throwing upon posterity the burden which we ourselves ought to bear. Observe good faith and justice toward all nations, cultivate peace and harmony with all. He says, don't love a nation, don't hate a nation. If you do, you become a slave to them. Our people call you an isolationist when you're against this. Not isolationism. It's none of our business. This crap's been going on. He writes about it in his farewell address. It's been going on for thousands of years. Thousands. Oh, we're talking about the Bible 3,500 years ago? It's been going, these wars have been going on forever. They're none of our business. Our business is America. Protect America. And that's why I launched Occupy Peace over a decade ago. There were 900 bases in over 80 countries. Bring them all home. Secure the homeland. Put them to work rebuilding our third world infrastructure. You want to go to war? Let the people vote. We're the ones that pay for it with our money and our lives. That was the way of the founding fathers. Not anymore. They get all these little boys that love war. Could you imagine Lindsey Graham fighting? Look at the wars that little, did you come out of the closet yet, Lindsey Graham supports. Anybody that supports the war in another country, go over there and fight. Send your wife, your kids, your money, your transgenders, everybody else. Go over there and fight or shut your mouth.
So you think that they're going to try to provoke in the same way that they provoke the Japanese into attacking, be it Russia, Iran, North Korea, that this is going to be the playbook, possibly even in China and Taiwan. So they're trying to get them to act in a way that, because we know that the average person has no idea what's going on, right? No. They don't care about, they care about Mike Tyson fighting Jake Paul. They have no awareness of what you just talked about as it applies to the modern day, all of the provocations that we're currently engaged in. All they're going to see is Russia launched a nuke.
Yep.
Or, and there's going to be no explanation as to why they did it. in the same way that the invasion happened, there was no explanation as to why Vladimir Putin felt the need to go and, defend the people in the Donbass and whatever rationale. I'm not saying that it's 100% correct, but Russia has their way of seeing the war. We have our way of seeing the war. So what do you think this false flag is going to manifest as, either in Ukraine or Iran or
either one? There's going to be a false flag event. One of my lines again: when all else fails, they take it to war. The cover of this week's Trends Journal. Democrats lose election. When all else fails, they take it to war. Everybody forgot about the election. Everybody forgot about it. Finished. Yeah, you're talking about the Ukraine war? This is your Trends Journal. It used to be a monthly. Now it's a weekly. It's not printed anymore. There's an article here. You see how happy that guy is? This is written by Dr. Paul Craig Roberts, former Assistant Treasury Secretary.
I know who he is. We're going to be interviewing him on Friday, actually.
All right.
Yeah.
He wrote this. Washington is driving the world to the final war. I'm just going to read you part of it. Washington concluded that Russia needed to be confronted with or distracted by problems that would leave the Russian government less confident or able to counter Washington's aggression elsewhere. Ukraine presented the perfect opportunity for Washington to advance its hegemonic agenda. In a speech at the National Press Club last December, so this is December 2013, Assistant Secretary of State Victoria Nuland boasted that Washington had invested $5 billion in non-governmental organizations in Ukraine for the purpose, quote, to teach democracy. The United States overthrew the democratically elected government. We wrote about it as it was happening in 2014. Nuland was passing out cookies with John McCain out there in Magnum Square. Caught on the cell phone talking to Jeffrey Pyatt, who was the United States ambassador to Ukraine. Fuck the EU. We're putting Yatsen, the little clown boy Yatsenuk, when they overthrew Yanukovych. The reason they overthrew Yanukovych also was that Ukraine's, not my language, the European Union, the most corrupt country in Europe. They've been broke since the breakup of the Soviet Union. They needed money. He was going to make a deal with the IMF and the European Union to borrow money. And Putin said, I got a better deal for you. I'm going to give you lower interest rates and I'm going to cut the price of your gas and oil. No, you're not. And that's when the overthrow began. We wrote about it in detail. And there's an article here also about before that was going on. This happens in February. There's a picture, the Sochi Olympics, and how they frightened Americans not to go there, building up the hatred toward Russia. Security expert, it's not if, but when the Sochi Olympics terror attack. Yahoo News, warning Americans not to go there. So they sold the hatred first, and then they overthrew the government. And again, they taught us to hate Russia since I'm a little kid. They used to have us hiding under desks in case an atom bomb went off.
And are they just doing this because, I mean, my personal view is it's American financial hegemony, obviously. Nothing that obviously benefits Americans per se. It benefits the upper class. But is there another reason why they're engaging in these perpetual wars outside the military-industrial complex? Or is that just it? Is it just about making money and power?
It's money, power, and mental illness. These are deranged people. They're mentally ill people. You know, Eisenhower, 5-star president, supreme commander of the Allied forces, 2-term president, right? He warns the American people that the military-industrial complex is robbing the nation of the genius of the scientists, sweat of the laborers, and the future of the children. He said any man seeking the office of president, they pushed him into running for president. I think he was like the head of Columbia University at the time. He said any man seeking the office of president, Google it up, is either an egomaniac or crazy. Then there's a book by Smedley Butler, War's a Racket. Answers all your questions. Most decorated Marine when he wrote that book.
What do you think of the Trump election? Obviously, a lot of people predicted it would go the other way. Do you think anything is going to change under a Trump administration from a financial point of view or in terms of foreign policy?
Yes, they will change. And by the way, I called it wrong as well. And again, we only go by data. You had the midterm elections in the United States, 2022. Inflation was at 9%. But Biden's poll ratings were in the toilet. The Republicans didn't do well in the midterm elections because of one issue. You know what that issue was? Abortion. They pumped I thought it'd be the issue again. It wasn't. As they say, it's the economy, stupid. But then you look at the data from, the Michigan studies and on about consumer confidence before the election was at a 4-year high. So anyway, called it wrong. We looked at the data. We didn't see it coming. We thought she'd get the Latino vote because she's from Jamaica. Went way down. Some 10 million less people voted in the Democratic Party, according to the data that went out in 2020. She got less of the black vote, both men and women. And people say, oh, she's not black. I'm saying she says she's black. Whether you say she is or isn't, I don't care. Go to the White House and look at a thing. So she didn't get that vote. She didn't get more. She got less women vote. So we thought she would win. So is there going to be a difference with the Trump? If Trump does what he says he does, it's going to be a big difference. He just appointed this guy Lutnick to the Department of Commerce Secretary. And this guy, I mean, this is the language from the Wall Street Journal. The goes on, Lutnick, chief executive officer of the financial service firm Cantor Fitzgerald, in recent months has become a close Trump ally and has been a top contender, blah, 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 blah. Lutnick has fiercely defended Trump's economic proposals in the face of opposition from some from Wall Street. And one of the things that he's very much in favor of are the tariffs. So, are they going to impose the tariffs? Will Trump lower or raise interest rates? So saying one thing and doing another thing is a totally different game. But if Trump says he's going to do what he says he's going to do, yes, there's going to be a lot of changes.
So you think he's going to lower interest rates and put these tariffs on China?
I believe they're going to put tariffs on China and on Europe. And by the way, I have to say to you, I'm not opposed to tariffs because once upon a time in America, we didn't have federal income tax. We had tariffs. That's what was bringing in the money. And I know this sounds like ancient history, but there used to be a thing called manufacturing in America where people used to make things and it was made in Syracuse, made in all over the country. And there was a thing called the middle class. It's all gone. You could thank Bill Clinton the most for that when he brought us NAFTA and sucked the jobs out. They went to Mexico to get cheap labor. And then he brought China into the World Trade Organization. You look at China's GDP before they got into the World Trade Organization in 2001, 2 weeks after 9/11, and their economy booms. Poof. Manufacturers left Europe and North America to go to China back then to get that cheap labor so they can make more money. So the middle class in America goes back to the Trump election. The working class is going down. You look at the median household income, it's what, about $74,000, $75,000. That's more than one person working. And what's your average price of a home? Oh, about $425,000. Look at the rents going up everywhere. Car insurance, cost of a car. What have they only gone up, what, about 39% since 2020? So the average person, the working class is gone. So that's why one of the reasons he won. So if he brings manufacturing back to America, that's a positive. It's not going to happen overnight. And again, I remember when all this happened, when matter of fact, this was one of my T-shirts that I did when Clinton was running back in 1992. Could you see that?
I can
Beware of
see it.
Slick Willie. Yeah, the little clown boy that every time he got caught with his pants down, bombs away over Baghdad. I didn't have sex with that woman, Monica Lewinsky. No, she only gave me a blowjob. All right. I mean, this is the arrogant little boy that destroyed this country more than most any other president in my lifetime.
Mm-hmm.
He also gave us the Federal Communications Act. Back then, if you had a newspaper, you couldn't own a radio station in the same city, that kind of stuff like that. He did away with that. There were thousands of independent radio stations, television stations, thousands of newspapers. Now 6 companies, because of Slick Willie, own 92% of the media. Slick Willie, again, used to say, you don't want those dirty manufacturing jobs. We'll have jobs in the service sector. Oh, yeah. They deregulated all of the antitrust laws. It was going back to Nixon. And there were no Walmarts when I was a kid. There were no Targets. There were no Krogers. There were little tiny ones here and there. There used to be a thing called drug stores, hardware stores, shoe stores.
Not marts.
Now they're all chains. No more stationary stores. We got Staples. No more drug stores. We got CVS and Walgreens. What I'm saying is the positive things about Trump is he may bring back, I don't think he'll change it on that level, but by manufacturing and made in America, America could become a self-sustaining nation. We have the human and natural resources that we need to do away with globalization. That's only enriched the rich. Look what happened with Russia. When the Ukraine war began in February 2022, Biden, we're going to punish Putin. They put all the sanctions on Russia, right? All the companies poured out of Russia, remember? Hey, how's Russia's economy doing? Like, doing pretty good, huh? All those companies that left, the Russian people took them over. Oh, their GDP's up, huh? They're self-sustaining. They have the human and natural resources. So anyway, on that level, I agree with it. And will it hurt in the short term? Yes.
Yeah, I think that's the thing that maybe the Trump administration is not really preparing people for, is the immediate pain of seeing the sticker shock at these big box stores that Americans and Canadians, to an equal extent, are now dependent on these low prices. So how do you think this decoupling is going to unfold? Are people truly prepared for the inflation that's going to come when Trump puts 60% tariffs or whatever he's planning on doing? And I agree with you, by the way, that manufacturing needs to come back. It's just, how do you do that, especially seeing as debts are at all-time highs, and people are still dealing with inflation as it is today? If you add more inflation on top of that, how is he going to mitigate that without things getting chaotic? Again,
as I said, it's going to be very difficult in the beginning, and you have to see how he's going to do it and what the terms will be. They say one thing and do another thing, so we really don't know. But again, if the dollar stays strong, then that's not going to be so bad for inflation, in some aspects. But I believe he's going to lower interest rates. Again, I'm only saying that because by their deeds you shall know them. Let's go back to 2018, December. NASDAQ down about 9%, S&P 500, and the Dow down 10% correction territory in 1 month, December 2018. What happened in January 2019? Oh, he forced Jerome Powell to lower interest rates.
Can he do that? Can he force Jerome Powell to?
Yeah. It's one gang. Look at the clown that's playing the Secretary of State, Treasury in the United States, Janet Yellen. What was the last job? Oh, he's the former Fed head? You mean the former Fed head's the U.S. Treasury Secretary? As George Carlin used to say, it's one big club and you ain't in it. It's a gang.
I
talked about that slimeball Clinton. Gets paid $300,000 to hear him bullshit for 1 hour from the Goldman Sachs gang. You're getting a guy bullshit for free.
Do you
It's
think
payback.
Do you think the theatrics then between Powell and Trump, when Powell he was questioned recently as to whether or not he would step down if Trump asked him to, and he said no. Is there some tension between those two, or is that all just theatrics?
It's tension, but Trump's in charge. He'll do what he wants to do. He always does. That's who he is. And the Fed, again, it's the gang. I just mentioned who's the guy he just picked? Lutnick. What was his job? Executive officer of the financial service firm, Cantor Fitzgerald. All right.
Yeah.
Look. This is America that brings democracy all over the world. We'll kill people anywhere for any reason. You want to run for president? What did Kamala Harris get? About $2.5 billion to run for president? Trump only got $1.2 billion. Where do you get the money from? The gangsters. The bankster gangsters. Once upon a time, there was an off with their heads. It's the same thing now. Hey, I'm Elon Musk. I'm one of the richest guys in the world. I'll tell you what to do. I'm Skutnik Lutnick. I'm a billionaire. I'll tell you what to do. You're just a piece of crap. You're nothing more than a plantation worker of Slavelandia. You listen to us. You listen to the rich. You listen to the billionaires. You got it? It's in front of everybody's eyes.
So Trump's making some big promises right now. And today, Target, I believe, was down like 25% or something like that. How is he going to? I mean, we got to see a stock market correction in the very least, unless they just hyperinflate this sucker and they just put the pedal to the metal. But it seems like, and maybe you have some thoughts on this election stuff, because if I was the Democrats and I knew all of this stuff was coming to a head, geopolitically, wars coming on the horizon, this financial correction that was coming, would I want to just throw this election, leave it to the Republicans and Trump to be the fall guys for this period in history? Because he can keep the market pumping for the next 4 years in the same way that it has for the last 4, can he?
Again, if he lowers interest rates and keeps artificially boosting it, yes. Again, I thought when they launched the COVID war, and by the way, Trump called a state of emergency on March 13th, 2020, Black Friday, when he locked down everything. I thought things would crash. I thought the markets would crash, the housing market would crash. I didn't know they'd bring the interest rates down to zero and pump in countless trillions of dollars backed by nothing and printed on nothing, and that Biden would keep it going and even pumping in more fake money. It's a crime syndicate. They'll do anything they can to keep making dough. And Trump wants to see the markets going higher because that's his game as well. He's very involved in real estate. And that's, by the way, that's what no one's talking about. The office building bust. Google up Castle Systems with a K. Look at office occupancy rates in the United States, in the 10 largest cities. Last time I looked, I didn't look this week, but I looked last week. It was 49.7%. I'm a city guy, right? I'm up in Kingston, New York, but I go to the city a lot. I'm down there last week. Walked from 2nd Avenue and 40th Street up to 48th and Park Avenue. For rent. Whole blocks. Prime, Midtown Manhattan. Empty retail places. According to the data, and there's different data, about 25% 34% of the commercial offices are vacant. Ain't nobody there.
And what's the historical average? Like what would it be during normal times? Like what would we expect?
Let's go to San Francisco. Now it's about 34%. Before the COVID war, under 5%. So you're probably looking around 7% on average. There was a building that was sold last year, about this year rather, about 6 months ago, on 50th Street, New York City. It's Midtown Manhattan. It's sold in 2006. I think it was $320 million. It went up for auction. It was sold. $8.5 million. It's in the middle of the block. No windows behind it, no windows on the side of it, just windows in the front of it. Big empty space, non-convertible to anything. You might as well knock it down and build something else. There are, again, the numbers vary between $2 trillion and $4 trillion worth of commercial real estate loans coming due in the next 2 years. There are going to be defaults on the commercial office building sector, the likes of which we've never seen in the history of the world, part one or part two. No one is talking about this. It's going to bring down the banks. Particularly the small and medium-sized banks, and even the big ones are holding these loans. No one is talking about this. It's blacklisted in the media.
It sounds like Kamala Harris dodged a bullet then. Well, perhaps not in the same literal way that Trump did, but in the way that, if this thing's going to crash in the next 2 years, the Democrats might have a chance to actually come back in 4 years, even though people think they're not going to be able to now. They'll find a way, of course. But Trump will be the scapegoat for these crises.
Yeah. Yeah, again, but he'll do everything he can to artificially prop it up. By their deeds, you shall know them. I told you what happened in 2018. Again, I write about it in the magazine as it was happening. He forced Powell to lower interest rates in 2019. Oh, and then you know what happened? Remember the repo crisis? Oh, we'll forget about that. Nobody will talk about that. Oh, yeah. That was in September 2019. Look at the U.S. economy in 2019. I think the GDP was like 2.6% or something. It was low. It was a shitty year. And then 2020, the COVID war happens. Everybody forgot what was going on. There was a recession going on. Germany was that far away from a recession in 2019. This whole thing was going down before the COVID. And then COVID war artificially propped up everything with the zero and negative interest rate policies that they kept in Europe and zero in America. So, yeah, it's a bubble. It's going to burst. It's just not a matter of if, it's a matter of when.
It's incredible how history repeats. We're in the 20s, and we all know what happened in the roaring 20s in the 20th century. It just seems like it's replaying. What are your thoughts on this Bitcoin stuff? Because BlackRock, apparently, according to Forbes, they've opened a spot ETF, and now they have unheard volumes of option trading in Bitcoin. It just seems like there's some mania, and I'm very concerned that you got Michael Saylor's company, which is just God candling at this point in time. Just something about it seems wrong. I understand the argument for crypto. As you know, I'm a gold guy. I like to have tangible things. I like to have property. I like to have things that I can hold in my hand. But it seems like there's just a bit of greed that's gotten to people. And it almost seems like it's being pushed by the establishment at this point. So what is their plan with this? Like, are they seriously planning on replacing the dollar with Bitcoin? Or like, there's got to be some ulterior, or are they just trying to game the system, goose the market?
What you just said about, first of all, we've been bullish on Bitcoin since the beginning. And if there was no Bitcoin, if there were no cryptocurrencies, gold prices would be double what they are now because you got so much money going into it. You take a country like Argentina. What do you have? Inflation 200, 300%, some ridiculous numbers. Turkey. People can't afford to buy gold. They buy small percentages of cryptocurrencies because they know their currencies are going down. That's what kept it going before all this, the latest round. Will they replace the dollar with the Bitcoin? Quite possibly, because you were talking before about Trump and how the reality of what he's doing is going to keep increasing government debt. When you look at the real government debt levels, you put Social Security, all this other stuff into it. No, it's not $36 trillion. It's more like $260 trillion. They're going to go digital. There's no question about it. They'll make up something like the Russians just hacked our banking system. They stole all the money, but don't worry about it. We got a new dollar. It's called a Bitcoin or whatever they'll make up. They're going digital, just like they've done in China. Everything is digital. You put your palm there, you don't even need anything, and they got your money. The reason being, when you're digitized, they know every penny you spent, where you spent it, what you spent it on. So not only do they know everything about you, they get your money. They're politicians. All they do is suck off the public tit. They don't work. Like the bureaucrats. They don't work. They're in the government. We need your money so we don't have to keep working. And when we have everything digitized, we get all the money that we want. So they're definitely going to go digital. Is it going to be Bitcoin? I don't know. But we have said this going back to the Trends Journal. I think it was like 2000. I'm not sure. 2000, either 18, I think it was. From dirty cash to digital trash. That was the cover.
One of my skepticisms about the Trump administration is pushing for Bitcoin and almost the complete lack of attention with respect to gold. You would think that, the bona fide revolutionary president that people claim him to be, he would be talking more about the importance of precious metals and not trying to deflect people's attention onto this cryptocurrency stuff, which, as far as I know, there's no actual material form of it known to man. It just exists out there in the digital ether. Is it a part of the whole ploy with Trump to push this Bitcoin thing to take attention away from the metals market?
I don't know. Again, look what happened when he won the election. And gold went down from hit 2,800, went down to what? 25 and change, right? 2,500.
2,650 now. So
yeah, and it went back up. So gold, you said you're in gold and real estate. So am I. Unfortunately, I only own one Bitcoin. I should have bought more. But again, it's not what I like, what I want, what I wish for. It's what is. Gold to me is still the number one safe haven asset. One of the reasons why gold also went down after Trump got elected was that, remember, he said if he was president, he's going to end the Ukraine war in 24 hours. And now the Ukraine war is heating up again with Biden sending in these long-range missiles. That's the other thing to push gold up. Gold is the number one safe haven asset. People, I always say this, people, they'll call me a futurist. I said, nobody can predict the future. There are too many wild cards, whether they're made by humans or nature. Look at the wild card that Biden just played by escalating the Ukraine war. Who would have thought that? I didn't think that. And the wild card with Trump playing the Bitcoin. Oh, what did he get? $150 million, $200 million from the crypto people for his election? Right?
Yeah.
So it's all about money. And is he investing in crypto? If he's invested in it, he's going to keep pumping it. but again, to me, gold is the number one safe haven asset. And again, we don't have any advertisers in the Trends Journal. We don't, we don't tell people what to do. We give you our trends analysis and trend forecast, and you think for yourself. So I'm not promoting it because we're in the gold business. That's nothing to do with it. I've started, this is one of my books, Trend Tracking, far better than Megatrends, Time Magazine. I started buying gold when the Iranian conflict broke out in the late 1970s. That's when I became a political atheist. When little Jimmy Carter came back from Iran and said the Shah is the island of stability in the Middle East. He spent New Year's Eve with him and his wife, with the Shah and his wife. In the Bronx, we used to say bullshit has its own sound. This thing's going down. And as everybody learned to hate Iran, not knowing, of course, how the United States overthrew the democratically elected government of Mossadegh in 1953, along with Winston Churchill, and put in the Shah and the Savak, the secret police. Anyway, I said, I bet oil and gold prices are going to go up. And that's when I started trend forecasting. I didn't get involved in the propaganda. I bet $5,000 in the futures markets back then, in the oil futures and gold futures, and brought it up to almost $750,000. I lost a lot. I was, whacked out, having a wild time. But that's how I look at things for the way they are, not the way I want them to be, the point that I'm making. And right now, we are in a very, very critical geopolitical and socioeconomic climate. Again, before the election, copper prices way, way down. Dr. Copper. You're looking at China's GDP, second largest country in the world. Economy. Germany, essentially recession, the third largest economy in the world. You look at Brent crude, it was down like $71 a barrel, even despite the Ukraine war and the Israel war heating up, because this global economy is way, way down and very weak. So, with Trump's actions, will he make a bad situation worse? At this time, it's a guessing game as I see it. By their deeds you shall know them, and we have to see what deeds he's going to push through.
I have one more question to ask you about Trump's plan on using the military to do deportations. This is something that could potentially create a lot of unrest if not done in a very sensitive way, which I don't think it will. Do you have any prognostications about how this is going to play out? Is it going to lead to civil unrest? How is it going to play out?
I don't think it'll lead to civil unrest. And this is very important too. Again, we only write the facts. As I said, we listen to it. We go, like with the Israel war, we go to all the different sites. We want to hear what everybody has to say. We say, this is what they said. This is our analysis. So it's not propaganda. We write about the data. Go into a Marshall's, go into a Lowe's, go into a Target, go into any of the big chains. First thing you see when you walk in, help wanted. Full-time, part-time. They need cheap labor. Again, when they destroyed the manufacturing system and the chains took over, my cousin's grandson went to Sarah Lawrence College, one of the top places in New York. Finally got a job. He's working for Target, making $16 an hour. They want cheap labor. Every construction job I see, people are speaking another language that's not English. That's why they allowed all these people to come in. They need cheap labor. So I don't think there's going to be civil unrest. I really don't.
So you don't think there's going to be like a forced deportation of millions of people? Do you think that's
I do think that's going to happen. But again, one of the reasons why Trump won was because of that immigration issue. Mm-hmm. And again, is he going to live by what he said he's going to do? It didn't happen when he was president the first time. He promised three things. I'm going to build a wall, I'm going to lower taxes, and I'm going to fix the rotten infrastructure. He did nothing for the infrastructure. The taxes, according to the Tax Policy Center, the 1% got 64% of the benefits.
Yeah.
And he said they were going to lower the taxes for capital improvements so we rebuild the economy. That again, the tax cuts came in 2017. 2018, there were no capital improvements. It was the biggest year of stock buybacks in history. So what he says he's going to do and what he does are three different things. So we have to see what he's going to do. And again, I think there's going to be pressure from the big corporations who run the country not to push all these people out because they need the cheap labor. Again, go to any of the big chains. You hear people speaking different languages that aren't English.
Mm-hmm. No, it's the same way here in Canada, especially in the last couple of years. I think they finally put a lid on things, but they had 2 million immigrants come in last year, some crazy number like that.
Yeah.
For a country of 38 million people, I mean, that's a lot.
A lot of people.
So we got a massive housing crisis going on currently, probably the opposite of the problem that you guys have there. But well, I guess we'll see what happens. Maybe we can end on a positive note. What's your price range for gold coming into 2025?
It's going to depend what Trump does with interest rates. That's the end of the story as we see it. Of course, the wars, you don't know what's going to go on with that. But the lower the U.S. interest rates fall, the deeper the dollar falls. The deeper the dollar falls, the higher gold prices rise. And again, very important that, even though gold took a big hit right after the Trump election, it bounced back up. And again, you go back to the Trends Journal 2 weeks before the election, and we write about it every week. We said there has to be a correction in gold. One of our top trends, by the way, for 2024, that we came out on January 2nd of 2024, was this would be a golden year for gold. Gold was $2,041 when we made that forecast. And now, as you said, it's what, 2,650?
Well, I remember when you called the bottom at 18, you said it wasn't going to go much lower than 1850. And, I definitely capitalized on that opportunity. I don't think we'll ever see that again. I'm actually hoping that it goes down a bit. So maybe we can
I bought again.
more.
I bought more again when it hit 2,200. That was my last buy. But I'm just saying it's made its correction.
Yeah.
That it didn't go down deeper and longer is very important because it was very negative for a couple of weeks.
Mm-hmm.
And it's changed quickly. And you're seeing the numbers are going up like what? Like $49 a day, $15, $17, $18. It's going up in nice numbers. So this is very positive for it. And again, it's all going to depend on what he does with interest rates. And again, the geopolitical crisis. That's the other thing that's driving gold back up.
Well, I tell you, man, we got an interesting 2 months ahead and then another interesting 4 years after that. So I want to thank you for coming on again today. And I would encourage people to go check out the Trends Journal. If you like my daily updates, you'll like the comprehensive overview that the Trends Journal provides. It's very extensive and you're very prolific with what you do because it's a lot of information to be putting out every single week. So I'd encourage people to go and get a subscription to that. If you, like I say, if you like what I talk about, then that's going to be very complimentary to it. So thanks a lot for coming out and we hope to have you back.
Well, thank you very much. And again, it's only $2.50 a week. And it's over 200 pages. You read what you want: geopolitics, economics, high-tech science, AI, technocracy, on and on and on. It's a magazine. You read what you want. But I've never worked harder in my life. And I've been at this for 45 years. There's so much going on. And we do our best to give our subscribers the very best. So thank you for having me on. And thank you for all that you're doing.
Hey, man, I'm trying to get people prepared. It's the least I can do.
Yeah.
I feel it's my calling at this point. So
good for you.
All right. You take care, Gerald.
All right.
The best way to support this channel is to support yourself by gearing up at CanadianPreparedness.com, where you'll find high-quality survival gear at the best prices, no junk, and no gimmicks. Use discount code PREPPINGGEAR for 10% off. Don't forget, the strong survive, but the prepared thrive. Stay safe.